WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, X, and our website, www.wvtcdetroit.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users.
You are tuned in to WVTCDetroit.com to the Sande Rose Show with your host, Sande Rose. You will hear the finest in gospel music, insightful conversation, and guests that will enhance you. The Sande Rose Show can be heard every Monday and Tuesday from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern and 2 p.m. Pacific, live on YouTube. So get your pencil, paper, and shouting shoes and get ready for today's broadcast. So listen, text a friend or tag a friend and tell them to listen too.
When you enter life apart from God and His grace, that's isolation. When God comes to see you, that's visitation. When He unveils the mysteries of eternity, that's revelation. When you think of His marvelous goodness, that's meditation. When you expect to see Him, that's anticipation. When you feel His Spirit moving in your heart, that's motivation. When you share in kingdom building, that's participation. When you tell of His goodness and His mercy, that's recitation. When you glorify and praise Him, that's celebration. And when all of these belong to your experience, you can't help but to shout. Oh, you may or may not do it the way others do it, but you'll do something. You'll open up. You will let go. You'll give vent to the Spirit. You'll let the overflow flow. You may not jump up and down, but you'll shed a tear. You may not cry, but you'll pat a foot. You may not pat a foot, but you'll clap your hands. Something will happen. Something will move you. Something will touch you. And you'll feel something. So you can say, praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Praise God that spoke to Mother's Earth, and she dressed up in a green garment. He rolled this terrestrial ball into space, baptized it with a liquid mist, laid out the green carpet on the earth, tacked it down with daffodils, snapdragons, lilies, roses, and trees. He ordered a variety of blooming flowers and transfigured it into marvelous attraction. Praise God, the one that deferred the counsel of the Holy Trinity and organized an angelic host to furnish music while the glory of his Father flooded the hills of Bethlehem, stepped on a heavily made airplane and rode down in a low ground of Sarah, leaped into the Virgin Mary and was born one day in the city of David, wrapped in swaddling clothes and laid in a manger. Praise God, who makes me walk like I'm rich and I don't have to have a dime in the bank. Praise God, who allows me to sleep on a pillow of peace and a cushion of confidence. He opens doors that no man can shut, and if I'm running a little late, he'll hold them open until I get there. Praise God, he's our rock, our strength, our hope, our guide, our peace, our life, our salvation, our Lord, our Savior, our all and all. Praise God, who said to the triune, let us make man, and the word let went into action, and God stooped down, gathered dust together, piled it up in the earth, molded it, and made it like he wanted it. And when he was satisfied with that, he had made with his own hand, he stood it up, breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. This is why we praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. We praise your name. You're worthy to be praised.
Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
We can't forget God's sacrifice. He saved this world with his son's life. He must have agonized in grief to watch his child suffer and bleed, but he knew that the blood that his son spilled there would save this world from her despair. So then over 2,000 years ago, God put his power into the flow, and the sins of the world could not pollute it. The years and time could not dilute it. Jesus' blood still washes. Thank you, Lord Jesus. The blood still cleanses. After all this, the blood still has miraculous power. Oh. So now, if you need healing for your life, you've tossed and turned and prayed all night, because the doctor said to you, there is nothing he could do. Well, my friend, no matter how you feel, keep saying, by his stripes I'm healed. That's when the blood will take control and let its healing virtue flow. Oh, and Jesus' blood is covering you. Every sickness, demon, devil's got to move. Jesus' blood still washes, and I'm so glad about it. The blood still cleanses. Thank you, Lord Jesus. After all this, after all this, after all this, the blood still has miraculous power. Oh, it reaches to the highest mountain, and I'm so glad it flows to the lowest valley. My blood, oh, the blood, oh, the blood that gives me strength.
Oh Lord, let's see if we can get everybody.
Everybody.
That's what I said. I don't know why I played that song. 'Cause it takes me all the way every single time. And then I
Right.
have to hurry up and try to get back, so I don't look like I just been over here shouting.
Okay.
Oh, so how is everybody? And we want to welcome you to the Sandy Rose Show. That's what I'm saying. I was over here, I was caught up. Okay. I want to welcome everybody to the Sandy Rose Show. I am Sandy Rose, and you are.
I am Teresa Acton. Hello, everyone.
And I am Richard Darrell Nichols, all the way from Chino, Chino, California.
All right, all right. And it's just been a beautiful, beautiful weekend. We have so much to report on. Weekend was just great. We had our baby, the healthy, the birth blueprint. The doulas came through. They came through. I mean, they were awesome. I mean, the presentation. And then we had, and I'm gonna start playing them. We had our little 1-minute spots by the husband and wife team of Larry and Stacy. Well, it's just Larry and Stacy Whitfield.
All right.
Okay.
Whitfield.
Whitfield.
That would be
They were-
exciting.
Yes, they were just, and we'll play, we'll start playing one, but it's just a little 50-minute spot that we wanted to leave. The doulas wanted to leave everybody with 5 things that they wanted them to remember about the talk. So we put them into an acronym. And
Okay.
so the 5 things, so like for our breastfeeding workshop, it was latch, because that's what mothers do, to get
Mhm.
a latch. And we had it was an acronym for each one, and Larry and Stacy talked about them, and it was awesome. It was awesome. I want to thank Hope United Methodist Church. The facility was outstanding. The facility was outstanding. And I can't say enough about Marcus, who was our technician. He was our technician. The venue came with the technician. I was like, go ahead.
All right.
Because usually I am the technician. But
Okay.
Right.
I sat there and was like, oh, I don't have nothing to do. Go ahead. And I ended up moving my seat somewhere else. But that it was just awesome. All the presentations, the people in there that attended, talked about how much they learned about what was going on, and we had our vendors there, and we will get a list of the vendors just so that everybody will know and patronize them. We had
Sande.
there to give out car seats for all the way up until what she said, about 12 years old. I'm like, you gonna put that 12-year-old gonna put in?
12. Wow. Well, could be
Yeah.
special needs child.
Yeah, exactly.
Sande, I was going to ask you, what was your aha moment? A moment that you said, wow. I did it.
One of the aha moments was we had one of the doulas talked about nutrition. And she was saying, like even with the butter and the margarine, if you have things that are that you're purchasing and you can't pronounce it, or it's a whole lot of things in there, you might want to just bypass that. And she did give us a hint about making some of the stuff. And you can make some of these drinks and snacks. You can even use some of the salt. She was telling us about salt. So it's not like you have to get rid of salt. You have to use the right salt. The right salt. Not the girl with the umbrella. Use her to don't do that. So
Sandy, I tried those other salts, and it wasn't. I guess it's something I wasn't used to, or something I haven't gotten used to. Those other salts.
and you have to. And they also talked about that you have to incorporate stuff like one at a time. And just like if you have seasoning salt, she really talked about like accent and stuff. And
Mhm.
like accent, Lowry's, all of that. And of course, it is not good for us because it contains a lot of MSG, which is monosodium glutamate. And that will give some people swimming in the head, headaches, all kinds of stuff. But she was saying if you have spices in your cabinet, you don't have to just say, I'm taking all of them out at the same time. Just start putting one in and take one out. Put something new. Like if you were using onion salt, go get you some onion powder and put the powder in there and take the onion salt out, when you're done. And you don't have to say, oh, this is going to cost me a whole lot of money. She showed us how to get around Whole Foods and get the whole foods and not have to spend all that money. So it
Wow.
was great. Oh, the Himalayan salt and the Celtic salt. So I'll give y'all that. It was Himalayan and Celtic salt, and I was like, oh my gosh. Regina said it was an exceptional event. Yeah, everything flowed. It just flowed. We could market our team and we could. Yeah. Well-oiled machines. Look out, world, here we come. But it was a wonderful, wonderful program. All of the videos, everything. Yeah, Roxy, just do one. A lot of times people think I got to do everything right now. I don't have that kind of money. I can't do that. So when you go and you see one, just pick one and just keep changing. Throw one away. So yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. We had a lot of stuff to happen. I'm gonna talk about my stuff in a minute. But Richard, I want you to talk about the concert.
Yeah, Richard Walker. I was there, and I'm still on fire. That is my type of concert recording service. David Daltrey brought it. I told David he's going to have to be number 2. We are going to have to be number 2 when he released that in January, supposedly, because Andre Russell's going to be number 1. That goes without saying. But everything, all his songs, everything that David said was going to take place, it took place and more.
Wow.
It was hot. Go to my page. I have some pictures up, and you can only record 20 seconds of whatever you're going to record and post it. So I did a little snippet here and there. Dorinda Clark was there, and Lord forgave me because I did record more than 20 seconds with her, but I didn't post it. Hello. And Lena Bird Miles, that girl is just too much. Sandy Rose, she hit a note and it's still up in the ceilings.
She's good.
And I have to say, the gospel community showed up for David Daughtry. Bishop Blake, his sons, and their wives, all of us sitting on the front row. So, that was very special to have Bishop Blake there. Yeah. And so I really enjoyed the service. I was on fire, and Chino is still on fire. LA is still on fire. And we're not talking about that 90 degrees we have here.
Yeah, but with that gospel music, and we had a big gospel music day on yesterday. Not only did we go out, we went out and sang yesterday. We were invited to a service. Pastor Kenlock invited the Gospel Music Workshop of America, the Detroit chapter, to a service and yesterday, and the choir showed up, and they showed out. And it was so many there that it was a huge program. But if anybody knows Triumph Church, they are a well-oiled machine. And they let us, it was like, move it, move it, move it. And there was no lags, no lulls. And we were just grateful. And good house. The house was full, packed, all of that. And we're just wishing him the best. We are wishing this Triumph Church just for what they do for the community. And their actors and stuff was there, and you could tell it was them. They got a whole different kind of swag. I love the ushers and all of that at Triumph. They really have their thing going. Then we left there. Now Larry said Reverend Jenkins was there and killed them. Oh. We left and went to communion, but Larry said Charles Jenkins got up and shut it down.
Wow.
He said he shut it down, and I believe he did. But that probably happened on my way to Greater Emmanuel. So I went to communion service. Again, it's not the Lord's breakfast, it's his supper. So he said we're gonna do this at night. Okay. So, I love that's my bishop. Listen, so we were there, and he had a mic toss. The spirit was very high in the room, very high. And Mother Teresa Moss was there, and she wasn't bothering nobody. She was sitting in her nobody. She wasn't bothering nobody. He was just saying, praise the Lord, hallelujah. He said, take this mic down there to Teresa. Give Teresa that mic. He started singing one line of a song. She sang one line. Everybody on that side just where I was sitting, it was so funny because everybody just was like up and out in that whole section. She took the whole section out. One line of a song. She didn't do a whole song. She didn't do a verse. She didn't do a chorus. She did one line. Held one note, and it was over. It was over.
It's power.
Yeah. So how about you this weekend? And we had NCGCC. It's so much to talk about. But
it is.
Hold NCGCC till tomorrow. So we'll talk about that.
Well, really quick. I want to talk about my retirement. And first of all, they gave me some really nice flowers.
Wow.
Really pretty flowers. And so it was very nice. That's not all they gave me. I do a little bit of cooking, and they were kind of giving me a couple of gifts to kind of make fun of that. Not make fun, but just kind of highlight that. So these are some cooked spoons they gave me, and they all say happy retirement on there. They gave me a cutting board that has same sentiment, happy retirement. It's a recipe for happy retirement. So it's just very nice. And I had a mishap with my watch on my when I was at NCGCC. And for some reason, I don't know how it happened, but when I went to the restroom to dry my hands, the whoosh of air came out so strong that it blew the top of my watch, the face of it, completely off. I don't know how it happened. And I got the pictures to prove it, but I don't know how it happened. But that was something that was funny to them because I wore it to work and I had tape on it. And I thought that was kind of ghetto, and I understand that. So they laughed at me a little bit.
Was it duct tape?
No, it wasn't duct tape. It was plain Scotch tape. But they could see it, and they said, Miss Teresa, just get rid of that watch. Just stop. Just get rid of it. So so that was a little joke for them. So for my one of my gifts, that's what they gave me. They gave me a watch.
Oh.
They gave me a watch, so it was nice. But the biggest thing, it just blew me away. Everything was so nice. I had 2 nice cakes. But the biggest thing that blew me away is these tickets. They gave me, my husband, 2 tickets to a football game, Monday Night Football. And I was like, Albert, this blew me away. This blew me away. And so, I mean, they were just so, so nice to me. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, that's
But
what Eric said. Did you shout?
no, I didn't shout. I didn't get a chance to shout because we were there in the meeting. And so the clerical staff had to leave because they were going to have the rest of their meeting. So I didn't really get the chance to, hug anybody or anything. But the next time I go there, I'll try to do some of that, maybe take some pictures. But they were so nice to me, and I just can't say how grateful I am for a nice staff. And I don't know. It was beautiful though. I've had 2 days of retirement so far. So
Did you
this
wake
is
up
what we're doing.
early or later?
I it wasn't too late, it wasn't too early either. I worked on my resume. I realized the only resume I had was for music. So I said, well, let me update some things. So I did that this morning and sent one off. So we'll see what happens. But great day though.
It was a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we are congratulating you, Teresa, on your accomplishment. I was talking to one of our interns here on yesterday, and she said, you all get an opportunity to retire. We probably won't. Said,
Ooh,
you're probably
wow.
right.
Wow.
Yeah, you are probably right. So we've still have a lot more to talk about. So tune back in tomorrow and we'll finish our little discussion. But we have a guest. We have a special guest.
All right. And I'll be glad to read this bio from Marion Hayden. And I'll need somebody to help me with a pronunciation, but bassist Marion Hayden is the 2025 Kresge
Yeah, that's
Foundation.
Kresge Foundation.
Okay. Foundation Eminent Artist, a yearly award given to artists who have made an outstanding career impact. She was among the top 20 vote getters in the Rising Star Bassist of the Year category in the Downbeat 73rd Annual Jazz Critics Poll in 2025. Born in Detroit, Michigan, a crucible of jazz, Marion is one of the nation's finest proponents of the acoustic bass. Mentored by master trumpeter Marcus Belgrave, Hayden began performing jazz at the age of 15. She has performed with such diverse luminaries as Dee Dee Bridgewater, Gregory Porter, Bobby McFerrin, Nancy Williams, and there is a whole list of folks. And David Allen Greer, Lionel Hampton, and many, many others. She is a co-founder of the Grammy-nominated ensemble Straight Ahead, the first all-women jazz ensemble signed to a major record deal. Her creative practice centers around her ensemble Legacy, formed in 2023. Legacy performs original, narrative-driven compositional works within the framework of jazz and improvised music. Current projects include Ocean, The Life of Phyllis Wheatley, original music illustrating the life of the celebrated 18th century poet, Ancestral Haiku, creator and composer of production featuring original music, video installation by M. Safel Gardner, and dance. Highland Park, City of Ogun, a narrative score combining original music and interviews with residents of Highland Park, Michigan, the site of the first auto plant in the United States. Roy Brooks, Mystical Alfredon, a performance and video of the compositions of drummer conceptualist Roy Brooks. The Detroit Basement Bass Ensemble. I like that.
Yeah,
Mingus, Mingus, Mingus.
the basement.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Bassment. The
Uh-huh.
basement. Like that. Mingus, 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 an ensemble of 4 to 5 bass violins, plus rhythm section performing the work of bassist composer Charles Mingus. A passionate advocate for youth music education, Hayden is the Jerry Allen Collegiate Lecturer at University of Michigan and the Director of Jazz Ensembles at Oakland University. She is an artist in residence at Building Bridges with Music, Traverse City, Michigan, and a visiting artist at Berklee College of Music in Boston. Hayden is a co-founder of Sisters in Jazz, a program to encourage young women in the field of jazz. Expanding on this legacy, she has taught for the Jerry Allen Jazz Camp, Centrum, Jazz Ambassadors, and the J.C. Hurd Jazz Camp, among many others. Her select recordings are Marion Hayden, Procession of Black Eden, Robert MacArthur, I See Your Face Before Me, Detroit Jazz City, Blue Note Records, Ellen Rowe, Momentum Portraits of Women in Motion, Mystique Noir, Intergenerational, and Marion Hayden, Visions. So I don't think we've ever had her to show. If she has, I wasn't here. So we want to say welcome to the show, Marion Hayden, and we're going to enjoy your interview.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. And she is just fantastic. The bio does not do her justice. It just doesn't. So I have a couple of clips here of her, and as we bring her to the stage, we're gonna play these clips so you can get to know her a little bit better. We'll be right back.
Well, first of all, I just would like to say that it's very important to have these kinds of opportunities for students outside of school in the summertime when they are a little more relaxed and they can have a chance to really be with each other in a relaxed atmosphere and learn music. And what I really enjoy about this particular program is the opportunity for them to have a chance to experience a lot of different parts of the great legacy, which is jazz. And in particular, I love the fact that you have all the great faculty here. All of my dear brothers like Chuck Newsom, Vincent Chandler, Russ Miller, and here just working with all the great ensembles and really making them tick. And then the other thing is just being able to have the students play along with each other and really have a sense for just get a sense for the momentum of playing. It's just really important in these kinds of really relaxed atmosphere. And of course, the crowning glory to this camp is to have someone like Shannon Powell, drummer from New Orleans, to be here and work with the students. And I have to say, I don't think there's any other camp that has traditional New Orleans as a daily part of their camp program. What I'll say is that the state of jazz education is really good, especially at the middle school and high school level. And a lot of these musicians are far better than I was when I was their age. And I was pretty good as a 14, 15, 16-year-old. But a lot of these musicians are just really, really excellent musicians. They're really great technically at their instruments. They listen a lot. When I talked during my master class about how one prepares to do music and what the process is, a lot of them have already thought very deeply about what it means to be able to practice, what it takes for them to be able to really put their music together. And I was really, really impressed with so many of them. I was always also really happy to see there were a number of young women there in the class, and I'm always very interested in making sure that the really great legacy of women musicians, in which Detroit is a ground zero place for that, continues to thrive, especially in the young folks.
All right. Let's bring her to the stage. And we have none other than I want to say the famous Marion Hayden. Yeah, and we have a song, we have a couple songs that we're going to play later on, just so you can hear her play. It is something special to see, and to hear. So we want to say welcome to you. And first off, congratulations for being named a 2025 Kresge Eminent Artist. And thank you. Okay, great. And what does that recognition mean to you personally and artistically, and especially coming from your hometown, Detroit?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for having me on this show, Sandy. It's just been such a beautiful community moment that you've created here. It's just lovely. Just the conversation and the caring and sharing amongst your team here, and then everyone else that chimes in. It's just fabulous. I'll just say the Kresge Eminent Artists, I think there might be about 14 of them now, and it's a yearly award that comes out of the heavens from you. You can't apply for it. Someone has to put your name forth, and then a committee has to vote for you. And it really means just so much to be recognized for really doing what I love to do. To be honest, is what it is. It's what I would do it with the recognition or without the recognition. It's always my honor to be able to represent the musical legacy of Detroit, to carry on the great deeds and the wonderful music that was gifted to me by my really important mentors and predecessors, and to also be able to pass that along to young people that are very interested in learning jazz, which is one of the bedrock musics of the U.S. and one of the bedrock Black musics, as along with the blues and gospel music, right? Blues, gospel, jazz, that all comes off the same tree of Black American music traditions.
Yeah, original American art forms.
That's right. Originally, right from here. If you want to talk about what is Americana, blues, gospel, and jazz are Americana. That's our original music that we created here. So it's an honor to be able to that it's an honor that someone thought enough of me to give me this award, and I couldn't be more grateful for it.
I mean, you are just awesome. All over Detroit, everybody knows you. And just to see, because first of all, when we look up, we see this lady and she's playing an upright bass, and you just don't really see that. No. It's not an electric bass, it's an upright acoustic bass. How did you get into that?
Well, I always have to give credit to my parents. I grew up right here in Detroit. I grew up over in the area of Dexter and Davison. People are Detroiters. That's where I grew up, in a little neighborhood called Russell Woods, which is still there. And I love that neighborhood. And my parents, Marion Ford Hayden, and my dad, Herbert Hayden. My mom was a school teacher, a chemistry teacher. She was a science teacher. And my dad worked for Parks and Rec. He taught so many people how to swim in the 1960s, 50s, 60s, and early 70s, until he passed very early in 1973. But they were a beautiful set of parents. I also have a younger brother, and they never said girls don't do fill in the blanks. Okay. And I think it really starts there. I think what happens is we put all kind of restrictions on girls, and we say, oh, that's too heavy, you can't pick that up, or that's too much athleticism, or that's too this, or that's too that. They have so many. We put a lot of limitations on girls, and my parents never did that. So when I went to school and I started in my little elementary school, when they used to have really good music school programs at the schools.
Yes.
In my little elementary school that I walked to, right? I didn't have to get bused there. I just went in my little school three blocks away, and they came down when I was about 9 and said, hey, who wants to play an instrument? And I went down to the little class, and I picked out a cello, and that thing was darn near as big as I was then. And I dragged my little cello home. I was so loved that thing. And then as soon as I got big enough, I played the next biggest thing because I really liked it. I really liked the low sound. So when I got about 12, I switched over to bass. And nobody said don't play bass. They just said, okay, that's your instrument, so you practice. And then my father was the huge jazz lover and just played all kinds of jazz in my household. So I always say, very important. You got to indoctrinate your kids with the music that you like before they become a teenager, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard when they get to be when they get up into teenage years, they don't want to hear your music. But I got indoctrinated when I was very young to hearing jazz, and I just love that music. So as soon as I got the bass, was let me started doing what I had no idea is one of the ways that you learn how to play is what you put on a record and you start playing along with the records. And so I did that, and that's how I kind of got started. And then I had the good fortune that my father was beautiful enough to put me in a summer jazz program, just like what I was talking about in that interview. He put me in a summer jazz program, and that's where I met so many of my great mentors and other young people that were in love with the music the way I was. And that's how I got rolling.
Yeah. And you said something that I could relate to, first of all, walking to your elementary school.
Yeah.
First of all, having an excellent music program at the elementary school. Because Carol Taylor, who is one of your drummers.
Yes, that's our drummer's aunt. Yes, Carol Taylor, of course.
Yes, she was my music teacher in elementary school.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's Detroit is just talented. So what do you think about the women in Detroit that play?
I think that Detroit has produced some of the greatest women musicians that I know. I mean, just some excellent musicians, and I think it's because overall the programs of music education programs were good. So when I think about the women in my group, Straight Ahead, Gayla McKinney, our fantastic drummer, our wonderful vocalist Kimberly Wright. She's actually from Flint, but the one who actually started our group was a woman named Mickey Braden. Mickey she's in New York now, but she's a fantastic a vocalist. And then our violinist we started with originally with Regina Carter. That woman's got a MacArthur Genius Award. She's got a Doris Duke Award. She's an NEA Jazz Master. I mean, she's got all the highest awards that you can get. I mean, we got people like Jerry Allen, the fantastic pianist. Two of the women that actually put harp playing on the map are from Detroit. A woman named Alice Coltrane, and a woman named Dorothy Ashby, right? Those two harp players are from Detroit. They're the ones that put the playing of harp in, especially in the popular music, jazz and other kind. Yeah, those women put this on. I mean, there's just so many others. So Detroit is just a really strong place. And I think that women have always, that people say, well, was it hard being a woman? I think it's hard to be a musician in Detroit, period, because everybody's very serious. There's serious musicians here. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. You have to be on top of your game to be able to be recognized. And here in Detroit, that's just how it is. And I'm sure it's that. I don't know gospel music, but I would imagine, given the plethora of fantastic gospel musicians there are from here, same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Teresa or
Marion? Yeah. I do have a question. Marion, given the fact that, a hallmark of jazz music is that, like traditional jazz music, you've got, different instruments playing different things at the same time. Uh, how really can one teach jazz if that is like, how it could be? How do you teach, putting all that stuff together and everybody's playing something different?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'm going to say this. I think that one thing, and this is what I really love about jazz, because I do teach it I teach it in, some middle school and high school contexts, and also in, colleges. So what you end up doing is you end up teaching a really good theory lesson, right? So you have to learn your scales and those kinds of things. And then and every instrument has a different thing that they have to learn, right? So pianists have to become a piano player has to become very skilled at playing chords and be able to interpret chord voicings and how does a chord sound. And a bass player has the same kind of duty as you would in the gospel, which you have to be able to play along with the piano player and interpret the feel. Drummers, the same thing as they would in the gospel thing. You have to be able to keep the time properly and be able to change up the feel for whatever it is. Horn players have a little bit of different thing. They have to be able to. Horn players need to be able to. And I'll just say the best jazz musician is the best musician. So reading music is super helpful. But we can teach as much as we can, but this is a music that has to get played to get better. So you can go to school and you can get some really good instruction on it. But Teresa, if you really want to learn how to play jazz, you got to go out and play jazz. And so I'm always glad for the students when they graduate and from the schools. And I always tell them, which I don't know if they're really happy with me about this, but I always say, hey, now you got your learner's permit. Now you can come out and see how it actually happens, because it's a little different when you get out there, when you can't stop and you have to really use your ears, and your teachers can give you so much excellent instruction, but you have to really get out there and improvising. And on top of that, improvisation is very much a part of the Black music tradition. That's part of retentions of our African heritage in music, is being able to get in there and do that. And you have to, and it's very much performance based. So we can become really good readers and everything else, but you have to get out there and do it. So you must get out there and try it out and see how it actually works. Yep.
So now I'm sure there are many forms of jazz, but we know about progressive and smooth jazz. Mm-hmm. So tell us how the progressive, I think that's what Teresa was more referring to, that everybody kind of does their own. How do you write that? And how do you distinguish the differences? I guess it would be the difference between, say, contemporary gospel and traditional gospel.
Yeah. You know what? I think what it is that the folks that work in what you call progressive, or we have a lot of ways of kind of distinguishing it. But so I say outside of the realm of smooth jazz, which is beautiful. That's really kind of more funky, more groove oriented, right? When you get outside of that, you have to take your inspiration from different artists, right? So you have to broaden who you listen to, and you listen to people that are more in that area. So we have some fantastic, like say one of the bedrock artists and like what you would call maybe smooth jazz would be somebody like Grover Washington. He was fantastic artist. But then there's other folks that play saxophone that were doing things that were maybe a little bit more different, a little more challenging. Somebody like a man named Joe Henderson, or somebody like possibly John Coltrane. And so what you do is you change your listening so that you listen to other styles of the music. And when you change your listening, you'll find when it's time to write, you'll take your inspiration from what you listen to. So people that play music in general, and certainly people that play jazz, are usually huge listeners. They do a lot of they just consume a lot of music. They listen a lot, and they listen a lot probably to probably to things that they like and styles they like to write in. But it's also good to just listen out, just period, and listen to even things that you wouldn't necessarily write in, just so that you can, so you can bring something different to the table when it's time to be inspired.
And,
Miss Marion.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to ask, could you talk about your experience with you marketing yourself to get your first musical career job?
Probably, I would say, marketing is a loose term. I think what it is, because people ask me this a lot. They'll say, well, how do you get work? And how you get work is by word of mouth. Right? Because, it seems like these are really, really huge communities of musicians, but they're not that big. These musicians know each other. They have ties within a community and in between cities, right? So, I mean, I used to teach in Cleveland, Ohio. One of my first teaching gigs was in Cleveland, Ohio. So I used to drive down to Cleveland once a week for 7 years. That was, and you think, oh, Cleveland, that's far, but as I like to say, you drive down to Toledo and make a left turn. That's how you get to Cleveland. You drive down to Toledo about an hour, then you make a left turn and drive about an hour and turn back. Next thing you know, you're getting off. Yeah, that's how you get to Cleveland. Cleveland is not really that far, And so there's networks of people. We know each other. So people will talk to you. And and I'll tell you, one of the great nexus of places that you tend to get things are stuff like the Detroit Jazz Festival.
Mm-hmm,
Right?
mm-hmm.
That Detroit Jazz Festival has been going on for 40 years now. That festival has gone on for a long time.
Yeah.
It's a real crossroads. You get a bunch of people, musicians from a lot of different places. They come together, and sometimes they bring their own band. Sometimes when people come to the jazz festival, they would call people like me or any of my other great jazz friends here in Detroit, and you play with these folks, right? So when you do that, then you have connections with people out of town. And that's really how the whole thing happens. Is it's really very much word of mouth. You put out recordings, or you're on other people's recordings, and that's also a really good way to get people to know, who you are. And so a lot of it is certainly for me early on was just the way people get to know you in the community. They say, somebody goes into town and they say, hey, I need a bass player for this gig. Who should I call? And they should say, oh, wait. They'll, if I was lucky, they say, hey, tell that Sister Marion, she can do it. She's really great. She just finished working with so and so. You know what I mean? So that's really how it does. It's a community of people that know each other. It's a community of people that know each other across the U.S. and really across the world, because you have what they call expatriates. You have people from the U.S. that move to then move over to Europe and stuff. And so now somebody knows you in Europe because they say, hey, I'm coming over from France. Who should I get? And they said, oh, you should get so and so. So that's how it goes. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. It seems like you had to learn 1 million songs, be able to, help people when they need your help. Is that a challenge?
Yes, you do. I would say, especially, of course, being able to read music is really helpful. So that helps out a lot. But there is kind of a standard repertoire that folks in jazz know. And it's one of the things that we like to say is that kind of binds us together from city to city and country to country. So, so in other words, if you have somebody coming in from Poland and they don't speak English, but they say, I like to play a song with you. And they say, can you play Take the A Train by Duke Ellington? Everybody knows Take the A Train by Duke Ellington. That's part of our standard repertoire. And I would say probably is not as much now. Do the students know maybe a little less than when I was coming up. When I was coming up, I had to know a lot of standard repertoire. That was something that was expected of me. It was expected that I would come on, that if somebody come, there's expected that I would come on. And sometimes some of the musicians would not even bring music. and they would just call songs. And so you would just have to know them, or you have to be pretty fast in your ears and learn them on the spot. So it really took quite a bit of, you had to have a certain level of skill. You had to be really quick with your ears. You had they say good ears, be quick with your ears, and you had to have a good memory. And it really is something that really required a lot of you, and really actually still does.
Yeah. I've got so many questions here because people are just putting questions in. But what we're going to do, because they want to know, like, who is their favorite musician. Bishop Woods is out here, who is I don't know, what is he, the father of Detroit? Our Detroit gospel. He's a father of our Detroit gospel. He's got questions for you. Everybody's out here. So we're going to take a break now. The song that we want to play on the break is Perhaps. Tell us something about that.
All right. All right. Well, Perhaps is a piece from one of the founders of bebop style jazz, which is a jazz that started in the 1940s, and that really set the stage for how we play our solos, right? And so some of the founders are names that some people would know, people such as Dizzy Gillespie, the great trumpet player, people like Max Roach, the fantastic drummer, and the man named Charlie Bird Parker. His name is Charlie Parker, but they called him Bird. And so these folks really, I always like to say, one thing about a lot of times about the brilliance of Black musicians is we may not start something new, but we'll take something else and make it better. And a lot of times it's really very hard to be able to put a dollar amount on that. But if there's a way to pay those musicians for what they did, nobody in any of their families should ever have to have worked again in their entire lives for the way that they were able to manipulate, change chord changes and things in the way, and to set out a whole template for how we play jazz that came about. So this is a piece that was written by Charlie Parker, and that was my little homage to Charlie Parker. Perhaps it's his piece.
All right. And everybody listen for the bass line, and we'll be right back.
WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit thanks the following supporters for their generous gifts of support to keep this station and these broadcasts coming your way. God bless you. We thank you, and we love you. This is WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit.
Hey there, Dorian Ellis, Elmar's Fur is coming on to tell you a little bit about our summer layaway. Yes, the season is over for fur coats. It's now the summer. Put your coat in the layaway, 30% down, right here at Elmar's Furs. Have 6 months to get it out. By the time you get it out, it'll be time to wear it. Right here, Elmar's Furs, 13661 West 11 Mile Road. Summer layaway is happening right now, 30% down. Don't miss it. See you there.
This is Marion Hayden, and we're at Fridays at the Station. I'm a bassist and educator from the great city of Detroit, Michigan. Oftentimes people have asked, what is the Detroit sound? And I like to say that the Detroit sound is a sound of authenticity in whatever kind of music you are playing. The funk is funky, the jazz is very jazzy, the gospel music, the blues, all those things are always influential in jazz. Jazz is like a sponge, and if you play jazz here, you have them absorbed in a very authentic way. And that's one of the things that I love about being from this city. I hope that the audience really had a sense of the breadth of the music of Detroit, especially since we had a fantastic DJ with us, Amira Haynes. And because I knew what she was going to be playing, or at least had an idea, I wanted to do something that I thought would kind of dovetail into her work. And it's very easy to do coming from Detroit because we do have all the different styles of music right at our fingertips in a very authentic way here. First and foremost, it is really wonderful to collaborate with other women, to have Amira there, and also because she is really very skilled, she has decided to be a DJ in the medium of vinyl. That takes a different kinds of skill to do that. If she suggested some really good things for us to collaborate on our crossovers, she brought something very, very different, unique, and generational also to this perspective.
That piece was about the Central Station.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's something new for us here in Detroit. It's back, and we've got you guys down there just really just cutting up, and we appreciate everything that you're doing. Like I said, we got questions. So one of the questions that we have, who is your favorite?
Let's see. I have lots of favorites, but I probably have to say, I drew a lot of inspiration when I was coming up from a man who really continues to be a mentor to me, and who reaches out to me as busy as he is as one of our great bass players, a man from Detroit by the name of Ron Carter. Ron Carter, go look him up if you do not know Ron Carter. Ron Carter is, I believe he's in history as the most recorded bassist in the history of jazz. So he, and he is still out there working, and Ron is up in his 80s now, and he's someone who was from Detroit originally. He actually went to Ferndale schools, and but he went to Cass Tech High School, and he's just someone who was just very skilled in classical music and jazz music, a consummate musician, and someone who just brings a certain. He's like that special magic touch that you want on your record when you have him on there. He's the secret sauce that binds everything together. And so he was someone I listened to a lot when I was coming up playing music. And I had the good fortune to meet him when I was a young person in my 20s. And he actually asked me to come to New York and study with him. But I couldn't manage to do that. I think I was a little too scared because, sometimes when your hero approaches, you're just like, oh no. But I'll just say he was someone, it continues to be someone who is just a real inspiration to me. So if you want to, you look his name up and put in what records he's been in. That'll give you'll be listening for a few years to get all of that.
That is outstanding. That is outstanding. Now, I know you're not that old. However, did you ever get an opportunity to meet James Jamerson?
You know what? I did not, but I did know some of his crew. I did know some of the Funk Brothers.
Okay.
Because several of those guys, not all of them, a lot of those guys did not move to California when Motown picked up and moved to Cali.
Mhm.
And so I never met Jamerson, but two of the drummers I knew. One was Pistol Allen. Pistol Allen's a fantastic drummer that I knew, and Uriel Jones. So I knew both of those guys and played with them, and it was an extreme pleasure to be able to. And I also knew Earl Van Dyke.
Oh wow!
Who was a pianist, and because the Funk Brothers were actually, most of those guys were jazz musicians. That's why Motown sounded so good, because those musicians came with a lot of skills.
Yeah.
A lot of skills. I also knew Johnny Griffin, who was another great pianist with Motown. So I was able to gig with those guys when I was younger. I knew Pistol Allen was very close to me. As a matter of fact, his son is my youngest son's godfather, because I'm married and have 2 children as well. And so yeah, it was a delight and an honor to be able to play with those guys from the Funk Brothers, because they really, Motown truly rested on their great musical skills. Well, Motown, especially Jamerson. Right. Everybody knows Jamerson. A lot of those bass lines that you heard were not lines that were written down. Those are lines that Jamerson made up and put on those records, and they became the whole record revolved around those bass lines that he created.
Yeah, because the rhythm, the bass, and the drums are just essential. Yep. We've got a question from Bishop Woods. He says, "Do you ever play the same musical patterns in a freestyle jazz jam session?"
Yeah. When when we do a jam session, that becomes like a really, it is really pretty much an open way. To be honest, it's a really great way to learn how to play jazz, because when I was a young person, I used to get together with other people my age. One of the things that we used to do is just jam. We go to usually it was my cousin's house, Kamal Kenyatta. We would go to his house. He lived over in the area of Fairfield and Finkel. And we used to go over his house, and just be a bunch of us, 4 or 5 of them. Usually I was the only girl, but it didn't matter, because we were all just really engaged in music. And we just get in there, find a tune, and just probably play on one tune for half an hour, and then find another one, do the same thing. And we really learned quite a bit just about getting the right momentum of playing music that way. And anything that I learned off of like from listening to Motown records and all that stuff, that will totally end up showing up in something that I play. I recorded. Some of you may know the great pianist Ahmad Jamal.
Yes,
Ahmad Jamal made a song popular called Poinciana.
Yes,
it's not his song. He did not write that song, but Ahmad Jamal was so fabulous. You gave a song to Ahmad Jamal, he's gonna make it his own. So his version of Poinciana was huge, and I recorded that with a very dear friend of mine, Naima Chamberger. And honestly, I put a Motown bass line on that. You couldn't really tell that's what it was, but that's what I did. So if you're a musician, any of you listening, any of all those things that are rolling around your head over many years of playing the music, ends up coming into something else. You end up inserting that in something. That's how it goes,
Well, he's got another question. He said, "Are you a fellow Detroit Local 5 Federation musician? If so, talk about the benefits of membership."
I am a member of the Detroit Federation of Musicians Local 5. I've been a member for over 30 years, a long time. And I just say, I always tell, in fact, my youngest son is a musician, and I made sure that he became a a member of Local 5 as soon as he got, big enough to be out there doing, playing music professionally. And I'll just say this: we don't have that many professional organizations as musicians. We don't, and the union is one of them. And the union is the kind of thing that will protect you from folks that are out there not trying to pay you. They have, young people don't think about this, but I'm at the age where, they actually have retirement benefits.
Mm-hmm.
You can get really good insurance for your music, for your instrument, which is really important. You can have, they have a good rate for you for those kinds of things. They have dental insurance that is available to you at a decent rate. So I mean, there's a lot of other, and I'll even give you one really good. Here's my good example of why it makes sense to be a union member. So my band Straight Aheads, we're talking kind of way back here. We're talking pretty much probably late 80s, 90s, because that band's been around for a while. So we got tapped to do a commercial for McDonald's. And and the person who was putting this commercial together, the producer, was a signator with the American Federation of Musicians. That means that whenever they hire musicians, they had to pay you union scale, right? And so if you're a member of the union, then they have to pay union scale for all the recordings that you do, all of your royalties. That's why you joined the union. So we did this recording, this commercial. We did two recordings. We did a TV commercial and we did a radio commercial, which are paid differently. One is paid by SAG, right? And one is paid by AFTRA. AFTRA pays you for voice music and SAG pays you for your images that are on television. So they weren't paying us all of our money. And I went to the union and asked and told them about it. Those guys had to pay a fine to the union, and then they had to pay us 3 times more, right? So they had to pay us triple scale for not paying us right the first time. Now, believe me, we were young folks. We didn't have any money to pay an attorney. There's no way we could have afforded to pay an attorney. But the union did that without me paying anything extra. That was part of our membership in the Detroit Federation of Musicians. So I always tell folks, join the union. You will get, that's what you need to do if you want to work on any of the big stages, right? If you want to work at the Fox Theater, you're trying to work at the Fisher Theater, any of those stadiums and all that, you need to be in the union. And then that is your protection. So when it's time to get that record deal and it's time to get paid and you're not getting your money is not right, there's somebody to go to. And that's what the union does. Yep.
Marion, who would you like to play with next week?
Oh, that's a really good question. Let me see. Man, so many folks. You know what? I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to pick somebody that probably people don't really know that well, but he's from Detroit, and his name is Kenny Garrett. Kenny Garrett. I would love to play with Kenny. We haven't had a chance to work together. Kenny is a fantastic alto saxophone player. He's from Detroit, and he's also an NEA Jazz Master. That's a really big award that's given to folks. So I would love to get on the stand and do some things with Kenny. That would be really fun to me. I should just call him up.
I was gonna say, call him tomorrow.
Call him today.
I would love to do some things with Kenny. There's lots of other folks too, but Kenny is on my list for folks I would love to have a musical relationship with, do some things, do a project with. It'd be super fun.
Right. This is a question,
Marion,
and
thank you.
Have you played at Cliff? And I'm sure
I have. I played at Glick Bells when they first opened up as a jazz club, and I've been playing there ever since, which has been quite a few years now. And it's a really great jazz venue. I like them because they're right in the heart of downtown. Mm-hmm. And I will say that a lot of times I think Cliff Bells gets a cross section of people that know that they're going to have a jazz experience, and people are just coming through because it's a cool looking club. And so I think it's actually nice that way, because you get some, you get some jazz lovers, but then you get some converts. You get some folks that will be like, I didn't know I was going to like jazz. I didn't really know I was going to love this. This is, this is great. And a lot of times, if it's just a jazz club where people have to go out of their way, they may not may not have. But a lot of times you get folks that are just coming from the stadiums because where it is, it's, a couple blocks from, really couple of blocks from Comerica Park, and not that far from Ford Field or LCA for that matter. So you get people that can just kind of come through there and they're looking for a really cool evening out. Then they found like, wow, this jazz is there's really something I like. So I like Cliff Bell's some wonderful club.
Do you use special techniques to create your music?
Mostly, I'll just say everybody develops their own techniques, right? But it's really just based on good musicianship at your particular instrument, right? So every instrument has a certain technical way that they learn it, that you learn it. And I always like to say a good musician makes a good jazz musician. So if you're learning piano, then you have to learn proper piano technique and etudes and scales and all those. If you're going to learn bass, then I got a whole bunch of bass music, bass etudes, scales, and things that you learn. And part of what we have to do is you have to have some technical ability. And on top of that, you don't just get it and stop it. You have to get it, and then you have to keep it going. And that's why we all have to practice, right? Okay. So I just had a rehearsal at my house today, which was really good for me. I won't have to do any practicing today, but tomorrow I will. Tomorrow I'll spend some time just working on some particular music and trying to keep my skills sharp. So music is really, if you're doing it for as a profession, it's a lifelong pursuit, which is really nice because you always have something you can get up and work towards. It's always there's always something to do. And I've got, in fact, I'm doing something. One of the things I'm looking forward to is I'm doing a mass, gospel mass. It's called the Will Todd Mass in Blue. I'm doing that at a really wonderful Black Catholic church, St. Moses the Black, at the end of this month. And so I've got some music that I'm going to dive into, and that will be on my music stand, and I'll sit and work on it on a daily basis, and work towards to perfecting and mastery. And that's to me that's an exciting thing to do, to always have something to look forward to keep your skill set up. Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? I have, you are a teacher. You do some teaching online, and we have a short clip here of you actually teaching something. So we'll be right back.
Right.
Hi, Marion Hayden here. Today, let's do a little workout on 2 5s in the same bar. We're in the key of C. So we're going to start on D minor 7. We'll play the D, 1. We'll play the F, 3. We'll play the 5, A. And then we'll play the 7, C. And then our next chord is a G7. And so we'll play the 3rd, which is B natural. And then we'll play the 1, which is G. So that's the whole sequence. Let's try another key. How about another key? So try this in all 12 keys, then try to put it in a solo. Thanks for checking in.
Wow. Oh, we are sitting here with the master. I mean, that is something, for you. So how often do you create the content, the videos?
That video was created for Jazz Ed Detroit, which is a really wonderful program in which they are kind of coordinating jazz education with different musicians and different different schools, different places that actually teach jazz, such as MSU Community Music School in Detroit, or Civic Jazz, which is an organization that's run by the DSO, Detroit Symphony Orchestra. And so they actually will ask occasionally for an educational video, and I will try to do some. I think we actually did that one during the pandemic. That might have been 2021. When we did that, but it's nice. It kind of gives the students something to work on, and a little something to tease their brain a bit, so they can try something new and get something new that, for them to work on.
So by you being the teacher, do you teach them things that you wish or you learned and you found that it was beneficial for you?
I do. I definitely do. I try to fill in gaps for things that I felt like I could have, that I would have wanted to know, or that I could have learned better when I was coming up. Because you know how it is, after you have to work for a while and you find out what you know and what you don't know. And so
you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it.
That's right. And then when you find out, if you got your wits about you, you fill in the blanks, right? That's what it's all about. You got to fill in those learning gaps for ourselves. That's what we're supposed to be about doing. So I try to make sure that I give them what I felt like I should have known, or things that it took me a while to figure out. I try to address those things first, and then I just try to I also try to put them at ease too, because I think a lot of times students, when they're learning something, they're nervous. Oh, am I going to do this right? Or, am I going to make a mistake? And I was like, yeah, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. That's for sure. You're going to make so many mistakes. And then you will, through your mistakes, you will also learn. Yeah, we learn through our mistakes. Mastery comes through practice, and also through the mistakes and correcting our errors, right? And so you're not going to learn if you don't make some errors, but you have to correct those errors too. You have to be willing to say, oh man, I could have done that better. Why did I do that? Or how could I have done that better? And then you find out, and then you make that better. And that's, when people don't, what's not helpful is if you make the errors and then you just say, I'm a bad player, or you just let it slide. You don't let it slide. You say, let me see, how can I have done that better? And so that's, to me, that's like I said, that's the kernel of playing music, is always having something to do, always having something to work on, always having a way to, uplift your skills, always, having a way to do something just a little bit better,
and it goes along with the saying, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice.
For sure. Yep.
Here he is again. He said, did you ever get to work with the late Al McKenzie and the late Lamont Dozier?
I did work with Al McKenzie quite a bit over the years. Yes, I didn't work with. I'm trying to think. I never worked with Lamont, but I did work with Al McKenzie. Al was a few years younger than I, but we had some of the same mentors. A man named Teddy Harris. Teddy Harris Jr. was a fantastic pianist. Teddy was also an arranger for the Supremes and for Mary Wilson. He did a lot of charge for those, because, one of the fabulous things about Detroit, such great musicians, that we had just a great storehouse of excellent arrangers here. I mean, people people that really knew the music, and could, and during those times when the Supremes and Mary Wilson were going on the road, they would go on the road with a suitcase full of music. And they were arranged. It depends on what the configuration of their band was going to be. Usually it was going to be piano, bass, drums, and a guitar. And then it may be so many horns. And sometimes the horns would travel with them. And sometimes they pick up those horns on the road, right? So if they were going over to England or Cali or something, they might pick up horns out there and just take with them just the basic rhythm section and a musical director, right? So that was the conductor. And Al McKenzie also was an MD, I believe, for Martha Reeves, of Martha and the Vandellas. And I think he went out with Mary Wilson. Then we did quite a few jazz projects here together here in Detroit. He was a wonderful, wonderful musician. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, the program that we were at the last time that I saw you, because we've had you at Ford at our events.
Yeah.
The last program was for Alvin Waddles.
Yes.
I played with one of his sons. How was that? How was that connection?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I love about being from Detroit is the way that we have generations of musicians.
Yes.
And you know, Alvin actually has two fantastic musician sons. He's got his son Brandon, who is a fantastic music pianist and conductor, and then his younger son Dominic, who is such a wonderful saxophonist.
Yeah.
And it's very meaningful to me to have these through lines between these generations that say, because we can count on each other. So I love being able to bring Dominic into spheres. I promised myself I was going to do more with him. And so I was so glad that we've had a chance to do some things together with Alvin and other situations. And it just, what it means, because, you know, if you want the next generation to sound good, they have to take some of what has come before them, because that gives their music context. Otherwise, it's rootless, right? You know, you don't want the music. Music should not be rootless. Our music always has to come from someplace. I always tell young musicians, you enjoy your contemporary, enjoy the folks in your generations. Please be in that, but always know that they didn't come from the air. They came from somebody, and that person came from somebody, and that person came from somebody. And when you start understanding a bit of the roots, and if you can put some of that into your music will sound better. It gives context to what you play. There's a certain foundation that you need, so that when you add on what your beautiful contribution is as a young person, it just gives a more richness to what you are doing, because you know where it came from. You can bring some of that in. So the fact that we have people coming from generations, like my son Tariq Gardner is a wonderful drummer. He usually plays with me on a lot of my projects, and he's been around musicians since he was in the womb. So I mean, he's been hearing music for that long. So context, you know what I mean? So so when he does his thing, which is very much contemporary into the music that he does, he still has, it comes from something, right? Yeah. It comes from something. Yeah.
So are there, and I know anything that you do, just like for the auto workers, that repetitive motion, do you have any ailments? And I don't want to say ailments, but has it affected, just that repetitive motion?
Well, I will admit I've got an ailment, but it's not. I'm headed for a hip replacement. That's my ailment. But I will say this, and you can't, it's not, there's, how it is, there's just no guarantees. But if you use good technique,
okay,
you should be able to avoid a lot of that repetitive things like carpal tunnel or tendonitis.
Yes.
If you use good technique. And so one of the things I always make sure that I really talk to my students about is, what is their good technique on the bass? And as a matter of fact, you showed a video about something else, but I also have a video from that same group about good technique on the bass. And I'm very serious about that. My students know. And if you see pictures of me, my technique is never looking crazy on the bass. It always looks right, because if your technique is good, then you will avoid things like carpal tunnel and tendonitis.
Wow.
And so there's no guarantee, but you got a way better chance of not having it.
Yeah, I did see one of your videos, and you were like, put your thumb right in the middle,
Exactly.
and
yeah. I mean, that stuff is not, it's not glamorous. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to talk about that, but other bass players. But if you play your instrument right, you have a way better chance of not having those things. And the other thing also with the upright bass in particular is how they set up, because if you have the strings too far up, too high, and if they're too difficult to pull on, then you can also bring yourself, have stuff, muscle strain and that kind of thing. So I have to say, because I got other problems, but that's not it. So those are not, thank you, thanks Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
And
not,
because that's a lot of, it's just a lot of movement. And, I watch and I'm like, I wonder, is that, but that it would be the same for a pianist if you got bad technique.
And then I'm going to say this also, Sandy, is you have to get smarter as we get older. So I don't work myself to death now. I don't, when I was younger, I might take two or three jobs, 4 jobs. I'm just how much I could pile on myself. I don't do that anymore.
I know that's right.
I do a couple. So yeah, if it's a major concert, that's all I do. Or I might do a rehearsal in a concert. I might do 2 in a day, 2 performances, but not too long performances. So we have to be a little bit smarter about how we treat ourselves when we get older, as as we mature as musicians and realize that our bodies are not machines.
Yeah, they are not machines. Now, as a bassist, you're often the anchor of the sound. What does the bass represent to you metaphorically in life, in music, and in your legacy? So, are you that bottom, that rooted?
Yeah, I always say the bass is the steer from behind, right?
Yeah.
So so a lot of times it's that thing that you notice, but you don't really notice because it's the rudder. It's the thing that's telling everybody which way the music is going.
That's right.
And everybody's relying upon the bass, but it's not the thing that's right up out in the front, right? And so what I find is that bass players make really good musical directors, because in order to play the bass, you have to be keyed into everything that's going around you, right? So if something weird happens and somebody goes to a place where they're not supposed to go, or I should say unexpectedly they go someplace, then the bass player is the one who's going to pull the band over in that direction, right? So, somebody misses a part and they skip over and do the bridge, or they do a chorus and nobody's expecting the chorus there, then the bass player is the first thing that's going to go over to that, then everybody else is going to go over, because usually the bass player is really on the inside of the music in a particular way. And so I know several bass players that are just fantastic musical directors. They're just, they're just really good. Because bass players are inside the music. And for me, it's just kind of it just kind of puts you seats you in a different place in terms of understanding the music and being willing to just be that person, being willing to be responsible, right? Having to hold up your end in a certain kind of way. Yeah. That is, because it's not just the time, but it's also coordinating musical aspects of the bass does. And, bass is that bridge between the keyboard and the drummer. That's where the bass lies, and that's a really important bridge there. And so I always say, a good bass player can make an okay group better, but a bad bass player can pull a group down. What you think?
Yes. We have a question from Larry Whitfield. He wants to know, have you done any work with the late Dr. James Tatum?
I did. I worked with James Tatum for many years when I was a younger player. Yep, sure did. Yep, James was a wonderful musician. I used to really love working with him. We used to do a lot of different work together. A lot of his original material. James wrote a jazz mass. I played his jazz mass with him many times. And then when he had the James Tatum Scholarship Fund, my oldest son got a scholarship from James Tatum, from his scholarship fund, which I really appreciated that. When he graduated, my big son is a visual artist, but he got a scholarship from James Tatum. It was really very lovely. Yeah.
All right, that's outstanding. Now that was your neighbor, right? Oh, he was the music teacher at Murray Wright.
Murray Wright, yes, he was. Yeah.
Yes, 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 and that's what they say. Murray Wright in the house. In the
Yep.
house.
Yep.
Yeah. So Teresa said, so many times I see upright basses on the stage just jamming, but I can't hear a note. Has that kind of situation happened to you?
I think that sometimes it has to do with how we listen to upright as opposed to electric bass.
Electric,
And
yeah.
it's a little, the sound is a little, well, let me also say that that some of that can just be the things that happen on stage, because stuff happens. It could be the sound person needs to put more bass in a mix, or if there's no sound person, then maybe the bass player just needs to turn up. But I
Yeah.
think also the upright bass has a different sound. And so I think that a lot of times if we're listening to a lot of R&B, contemporary gospel, those kinds of things, maybe smooth jazz, we're listening to a bass being way in your face. But the bass in jazz has a certain place where it should sit in terms of the mix of the music, right? There's a level that it sits in. It's not supposed to be up in front of everything else. It's supposed to be audible. You're supposed to be able to hear it, and it's supposed to be warm enough to fill in the low end spectrum of the stuff we're listening to, but it shouldn't be the first thing you hear. So a lot of times, jazz requires us to kind of be a little different listener, right? So we have to open our ears and listen specifically to hear a particular instrument and what an instrument is doing. That's one of the things I really love about jazz, is that especially when you listen to acoustic jazz, is it requires you to like listen a little bit harder, and so that you'll find where the bass is in there, and then you can key into what that bass player is doing, which is, there's just some incredible musicians out there, some really great ones. Certainly some of the early ones that were part of the early development of jazz bass are just fabulous, just really good. But sometimes you gotta listen a minute and key in to hear what they sound like.
Yeah, yeah. Brenda said Dr. Tatum was the head of our fine arts department, and that was at Tabernacle.
Yes. I've done a few things at Tabernacle over the years, and one of the groups that my group Straight Ahead and I used to play with was a choral group that started at Tab, and it was called the Blessed Hearts. And we did a lot of work with the Blessed Hearts, a lot of work with that group. We did a lot of gospel work. They went to Mackinac Island with us, I think at least once or twice. And when we go to the Mackinac Island Jazz Festival, then Sunday they would have Gospel Sunday, and they came and played with us there in Mackinac. And we've done just a tremendous lot of things. I know when Aretha Franklin passed, we did a gospel tribute to Aretha at the DIA, an afternoon event, and the Blessed Hearts played with us, performed with us then, and we've done just a number of things with them over the years.
Yeah, we're doing a gospel music history, and people are bringing in their things, and we're digitizing them for them.
Oh, nice.
We've got a lot of stuff on the Blessed Hearts.
Oh, good.
Thanks to Brenda. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And now that led to another question, and you kind of answered it. Have you played with a gospel choir?
Not a lot, I'll say. Probably the first one that I worked with was a group that was led by a fantastic musician, a pianist by the name of Sterling Sangoma Glenn. Sterling's pianist, and he was a accompanist. He's retired now, but he was accompanist for many years at I think at Renaissance High School. And he had a gospel group that I performed with. That was probably my first one, called Wings of the Morning. And so we used to do a lot of great guys. Do a lot of great gospel work with him. But I think because I played upright, it wasn't always necessarily the choice. I think especially in contemporary gospel, people tend to, think more about, electric basses. And I've never really played electric like that anyway. Although, I mean, I always think my upright playing can pretty much stand up to anything, unless I gotta crank it up super, super high, to get through, get past a lot of instruments. But I haven't done as much gospel. I've done a few things with Alvin Waddles, with his group Testimony. I've done a few things with that wonderful gospel chorale that he has.
I want you to play with the choir.
Oh, hey, anytime, call me.
I want to see what that sounds like. That would just be awesome. I thought about you the night that we had that program for Alvin, and I wonder how that would be.
I think it sounds really beautiful. Of course, like I said, it's different. It's not, it's not the in your face sound. It's the upright bass. It's beautiful. It's round. It's resonant. It's got a very, got beautiful long notes.
Yeah.
You can bow it. You know what I mean? You can bow it the way you bow a violin. You can play a bow on it, and so it just gives you a really different sound. I just think it's lovely. There's some beautiful gospel jazz recordings. One of the really great ones is by the great pianist Donald Byrd. The trumpeter Donald Byrd from Detroit. The name of that record just went straight out of my head. But anyway, he recorded a song called Cristo Redentor, and so many other really gorgeous pieces. And this was gospel in a jazz context. And there have been several records like that in which people that play jazz have decided to. And I myself have actually written 2 suites. They're not gospel suites, but they are suites to be basically played in church. I wrote a suite based on the Book of Ruth, and it's a acoustic jazz suite with horns, vocals, and piano, bass, and drums. And then I wrote a piece based on the Book of Job, which is a double quartet, and that one's got a string quartet and jazz quartet with piano, bass, drums, and saxophone. And also there's a small piece of gospel choir. I wrote a Negro spiritual at the end of that. So I think it belongs. I just think it really belongs. I just think, like I said, we have to listen differently,
We're gonna have to make that happen.
Yeah.
And that would expand people's just their minds. It would just give you a whole different sound that you probably weren't looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I think why not? Why not have, why not be expansive in our listening and the way that we think about things? Why not? You know what I mean? Why not clear your ears out and do something different?
Absolutely. This is, and we have not even asked you anything about writing. It's so many questions that we could have asked you. But the time just goes by, and everybody is pretty quiet because they're listening.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. I so appreciate having this chance to talk. I hope folks found it somewhat interesting. I do.
Listen, yes, trust me, they did. So we'll do our closing thoughts, and Richard may have a last question. Do you have a question?
Yeah, one last question, maybe a music lesson. Now, I don't really know the keys on the piano, but I know there are, like you were talking about the keys on the bass, and I never thought of the bass being a key. How did you find the key, or where are the keys located on the bass?
Well, that's one of the challenges of playing the bass or any of the stringed instruments that are what they call fretless, right?
Fretless.
If your guitar, they have the little lines on the thing where you can show where. Well, the bass, the violin, the viola, and cello do not have those on there. So your hand basically has to measure where you are, and then that's where you know where you are in the instrument. So part of what you're practicing is to play in tune, right? So you have to be able to play when the piano hits a C, You have to find your C, and the C there, you have several C's on the bass. There's more than that. C exists in more than one place on the bass. And so, but you have to know which one it is, and you have to be able to play that one in tune. So yeah, that's basically, so when you see me playing the bass, if this is my fingerboard, then you see me doing this. I'm basically measuring up and down the bass like that. So every time I put my finger someplace, there's a note there. There's a note there. And so it does take some skill. And I will say that the learning curve for playing stringed instruments is pretty steep, and most families have a tough time with their young string players because there's a fair amount of
right, exactly. They're like, just put that down, baby. It's okay. Just
you have to.
We love you though.
Very patient moms and grandmas and grandpas and dads and siblings to get through the early stages of learning those things, because it takes a while to learn how to play the instrument in tune, and so that sounds pretty. But once you get it,
there's nothing on the back for your thumb.
Yes, right.
nothing for you to.
Right. You got to learn, you have to learn all those things on the instrument. And then, but that's part of your practice as a musician is that's part of your technique. And that's how the notes are. So there's notes on there. They're just not written in there. And you have to know right where they are. And of course, it's a little different on every bass, because basses are by and large handmade. So every bass is different. They're not all the same. I got about 5 of them here, and they're all different. So every time you put your hand on it, you have to find out where that specific note is on the bass that you are playing on, or what the one that's in your little bass at home. So that's how it is.
Wow.
All right, thank you.
Now, so is there a bass community? I know you said the musicians, have a community. So there's a bass community.
There most definitely is, and as a matter of fact,
I saw women.
There's a few women that play, probably more women playing electric bass. And this weekend on Saturday is Detroit Bass Day, right? And so that's a day celebrating bass players from Detroit. And this is an annual event that they've been doing. I don't want to say how long, but I want to say probably 10 years anyway, at least 8 to 10 years. And so it's going to be at the Motown Museum. And I'm going to be performing there. I'm doing a short spot, and one of my great bass sisters, Emily Rogers, is going to be doing something, and it's basically a showcase for the wonderful bass playing town that Detroit is. Yep, Detroit is a bass playing town.
Yeah, we had one of the sons of gospel, Valley. His name was Valley. Did you know?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. We changed his diapers.
Oh, so beautiful.
Yeah. So that is awesome. I'm sure everybody wants you to come back, because they did not get a chance to ask you questions. All they're saying now is it's just an awesome interview and awesome.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Sandy. It's just been lovely, and so enjoyed the whole.
I have your one of the posters from the Ford event with you guys' picture on it is hanging up in my office, and I keep it in there. It's great. It's just such a great memory. So what we're gonna do now, we'll have our closing thoughts. Everybody, make sure that you tune in tomorrow. We are going to have a special guest, which is Dr. Joel McLeod, who is the chancellor of the New Dimension University. So he'll be here with us tomorrow, but we'll do our closing thoughts. Teresa got knocked off. You all know that this is her first show at home. So she's trying to get used to her home equipment. So she kind of got knocked off, but she's still with us online, and Richard is still here. So we'll have closing thoughts from Richard, and then we'll ask Marion to have closing thoughts for this show.
Well, again, I'd like to thank the Lord again for this opportunity. Thank you, Sandy Rose, for giving me this opportunity to be here with Miss Marion. Marion, it was great having you here. Thank you for coming. And it was a point that you made at the beginning of the show where you said your father exposed you or gave you the opportunity to hear music and expose you to music. And that's in life in general, you expose people to different experience, and they will be able to succeed by just that exposure. Because if someone probably exposed me to some music, I probably would be a singer right now, but I wasn't exposed to that. But thank you again for coming. We enjoyed having you.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you. And thank you for your really interesting questions. I really appreciated all of those. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right. And closing thoughts for you. We're going to call you Dr. Mary.
Well, I just like to say,
the bass.
Again, thank you so much. Thank you for all the community that chimed in and asked. And just, because I know that jazz is not everybody's cup of tea, but it is one of the musics, as I said, that really represents us as a community. Detroit is a huge jazz community. It has a huge, it has a really huge reputation amongst the world. When I travel and I tell people I'm from Detroit, that means something.
Yes.
They know what that means. Yes. They know what that means, from jazz to gospel to R&B to hip hop. They know Detroit is a huge music community, and so I really appreciate this idea, this opportunity to kind of even share into the nuts and bolts of things. And how do I play? How do I teach? And also I'd like to say, if anybody out there has a young person that they think would like to learn how to play, please, Sande, give them my email. I would love to communicate. I'm always recruiting. I'm always recruiting.
Matter of fact, you give your email. You can give your email now.
Okay. My email is my name, Marion Hayden, MARION HAYDEN @hotmail.com. Old school, right? I got a Gmail somewhere, but Hotmail is fine.
I got you.
Yep. And I'll be glad to communicate with them. I'm always trying to get young folks involved. And our public school music programs are not what they'd like to be, what we need them to be, what they used to be, but our educators are great. We have some wonderful educators. Even if you're not trying to play bass, if you want to play piano or a horn, or up at the high strings, violins, there's somebody out there that can teach you in our community and really get you started.
Yeah. And there's an old saying, I believe it's like, if you want to know how the village is doing, look at the kids.
Yeah.
And, this is very important for us to send our kids to people like you, who can really train them correctly, and they can actually make a career, or just make something that can soothe them, because music can be a great, calm you down thing, so please, ma'am, please, sir, Marion Hayden @hotmail.com. We'll make sure that we put this in the chat for you all, but send your children. Do you do virtual lessons?
I haven't done too much. I've done some. I did a little bit during the pandemic. So, and it can work. The only thing about that is that, you can't play together. You can only play one way, but you can do some things. You can do some things over, like, Zoom, some of the platforms like this. We found out pretty early on that there was that people cannot play together on Zoom. We right after the pandemic set in, we had a couple of horrible crashes on Zoom trying to play music together. So we figured out, but one person at a time can play. Yes.
Yeah. So we want to thank you. We wish you the absolute best. And again, we still got a lot of questions. So we'll get to those questions. We'll get you back when we know that you're not busy, which I don't know when that would be, but because you're always working. So thank
you. And I will be at the Detroit Jazz Festival this year on Labor Day weekend at I believe it's at 5:00. 5:00 Labor Day weekend. Come and hear my group at the Detroit Jazz Festival.
Which group are you playing with?
I'll be playing with my band, which is the Detroit Legacy Ensemble.
Okay.
And we'll be out there free. We'll be on the waterfront stage. It's a really beautiful stage out there. You can have such a great time. It's a wonderful festival. Our festival is a 4-day festival: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. and Monday. And so everybody come on out.
And if you have not had an opportunity to come to Detroit, because our listeners are everywhere, but if you have not had an opportunity to come to Detroit, Labor Day would be a wonderful time because of that jazz festival. And it's free jazz. I mean, they have just different stages, and you can just walk around and hear all kinds of jazz music. And it's just excellent. And it just shows you the kind of talent that we have. They use a lot of young people during that weekend as well, because you can see them, the high school bands, the ensembles, they're up playing and things like that. So it's a great weekend. So if anybody is out there and you're looking for something to do, Labor Day weekend here, the Detroit Jazz Festival, I mean, it's world class jazz.
Yep.
We want to thank everybody for being here with us today. Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you, Richard. And again, we'll be back here tomorrow. Stay tuned at 8:00. Press will be here. You need some prayer in your life, they'll be here to pray for you. We love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So we'll say right now, night, night.
Good right
now. Elder Rudolph Stanfield.
Thank you for listening to The Sandy Rose Show with your host, Sandy Rose. If you have enjoyed this broadcast, won't you consider liking and sharing this with a friend or family member? We'd love for you to share it on your Facebook page. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit. Remember to like and share this broadcast with a friend. We are WVTC, winning victory through Christ.
Hello, everybody. This is Brandon Waddles, the son of Detroit, Michigan. Just telling you all to make sure that you keep on watching WVTC Detroit.
Detroit, the birthplace of soul, the heartbeat of gospel music. But our gospel music legacy is at risk of fading into obscurity. The Detroit Gospel Music Legacy Foundation is on a mission to preserve our history, to ensure that the voices of our pastors, the harmonies of our choirs, quartets, and soloists live on for generations to come. But we can't do it alone. We need your help. If you have Detroit church archives, obituaries, concert souvenir booklets, gospel LPs, radio shows, cassettes, or sheet music, don't let them vanish. We'll digitize and preserve these treasures at no cost to you, and we'll return them to you, keeping our promise to honor our history. Reach out to us at DetroitGospelMusicLegacy@gmail.com and start your donation process. Together, let's ensure that the soul of Detroit lives on. Donate your gently used items to the Detroit Gospel Music Legacy Foundation today.
This is WVTC Detroit, your award-winning gospel internet radio station. We're bringing you the best in gospel music, live shows, and inspiring interviews. Like and share our page on Facebook and YouTube. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay connected. Your support helps us spread positivity and encouragement throughout the community. So whether you download our WVTC app, visit our website at WVTCDetroit.com, or join us on Facebook or YouTube, you will stay connected and entertained. Join our WVTC Detroit listener family today and tell your friends about us. Together, we can make a difference. WVTC Detroit, where gospel meets the community. Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.